So, everybody, we have made it. We are here. We are at the end. And as always, and as with most summits that you attend, we saved some pretty good big juice for the end. So I'm super excited to talk about legacy with my dear friend, Colleen Biggs. Colleen, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you, Trisha. When you and I had the conversation before you brought me in, it was really about our past and our friendship and what you're doing now and the resources and knowledge and wisdom that I could bring to this summit of yours. And so I was honored for you to have called me because I've met with your groups in the past and some of the clients that you've been coaching through your process. So I'm excited to be here. And I'm hoping that something you and I say today, it affects someone and they hear the words and they take action on them and move forward with it.
I love having you in my space. I really do. And y'all, if you don't have a pen and paper, or if you haven't already downloaded the reflection sheet below, maybe push pause. Maybe push pause, because I know, from personal history that, Colleen's going to give us some, really big juice. And usually our conversations are quite fruitful. So we'll just leave it at that. And so, Colleen, I wanted to start by just, inviting everybody to experience a little bit about you. And so I wanted to ask you if you could, share a pivotal moment in your life or your career that shifted your focus toward building a lasting legacy.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because not many of us reflect on that moment because life, right? We're busy and we're doing and we're being and it seems like we're just putting one foot in front of the other and we're not really paying attention to really the impact that we're making around us. And for me, when I left corporate America, that was not the pivotal moment that I was like, I'm now going to become an entrepreneur and build a legacy. The, that moment came not too long ago when I've had to make some pretty big decisions in my business and in my life. And one of those decisions was when we decided to own a business and buy a business with our kids. And as we've started in that business now for a couple of years, we're at a point where it's growing at a rapid rate. And we're building a legacy within our own family with our children. And that was a decision that was made a couple of years ago. But decisions I've made just in the past several months have really been about continuing a legacy that I started in the LEAP community and LEAP for Ladies. And I just announced it actually today.
Oh,
And the announcement that came out was that I'm passing the baton off to another leader to grow that community, to run that community, and to take that community further than I had the bandwidth to do. And that is really about leaving your legacy, and that legacy living on while I'm living. I think that's the important thing we need to remember is I'm not dead. And so it's okay to allow other people to do something that you're not capable of doing and taking that legacy to the next level and continuing to breathe breath into it and allowing it to grow without you. You created the foundation and the base of founding that, and you curated the space for it to grow. And I know when it's my time to move on. And we have other businesses, my husband and I do, that are growing as well, that I need to step into. And it's become apparent that I'm not able to deposit little bits into everything that I'm doing because it doesn't make a difference. And I think that's the key to this is when we just give a little breath into kind of all these little pieces, it never goes anywhere and it never really creates an impact. But when I landed on 2 feet from corporate America into like boom, entrepreneurship, I was like breathing air and everything I had and passion and support and service into this community and built it for what it is today. And I've done that with my Empower and Elevate conferences. I've done that with other areas that I have fully put myself into and built. My masterminds were another one. And then I took a break from them this year, knowing that my attention needed to be somewhere else. When we build legacy, it's about building a foundation of something that will survive forever. And
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest piece.
I think that, something that we have in common and something that, is interesting, that synergistically we're in that same space and we're brought back together again after, I think it's been about a year since
Yeah.
the have hung out and spent significant time. But, being in that same space, I also, took an extensive amount of time this year to look at where my heart and where my soul was going to give to the right level, right? So that my life's work could live on beyond me. And I guess might be young, and it may be, people are like, well, you got plenty of years left in you. And it's not that I'm going anywhere, I'm not ducking out. However, there's younger, newer, people that coming in to serve more, to reach more, to bring more, it's what I've always wanted. And so, yes, back in the day, I could carry a caseload of 40. That's not necessarily my comfort zone anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we have to look at those things. And I like that you talked about, if I'm not breathing life into it, or if it's too segmented, too small, or too divided,
Yeah.
then I need to look at that and how best will it keep it alive. And that is sometimes bringing in, asking for help,
Yeah.
inviting others to also benefit and from it and help it continue to grow. So, I love that. And I love that, influences the way that you operate in all of your businesses today. And I think that it's, just really important. And it's the same with our personal lives. If something isn't your strong suit, but it's your partner's or one of your kids, then like, hey, bring them in. Like this, solopreneur thing doesn't have to be solopreneur, and nor does being a single parent or other things. Like there's always a resource, whether that's that we can bring in. So anyway, I love that entire opening, right? So, but let's I don't know, maybe help some others out. So if we're looking at legacy, that can mean really different things to different people. So, how would you define legacy, and why do you believe it's essential to start building it with intention right now?
Well, when I define legacy, to me it's something that lives on. To me it's something that is greater than you, that has made a change, right? We've made a change. So I'll use something easy. Any woman that was involved in assisting and pushing the rights for women to vote created a legacy, would you say, for that, right? They created a legacy. They did the work. They might no longer be with us, but they did the work. But while they were pushing for that to come through, and many of the women that were involved in that along the way, they were alive when that came to fruition. They made a greater impact that would last for a lifetime. So we need to kind of hone back and look at our values and what are those core values. What core, and that's part of the download below, the reflection sheet. What are the values that you instill for yourself? For me, it's not necessarily working with my husband in his business because it's a drone business and I love drones, because I don't. I do love franchising. I do love allowing a mom or a dad or a couple to buy a business that they never would have been able to start any other way, and to grow a business that gives them the income that's more than corporate America to support their family and have the family unit be first. That is a passion of mine. But I want to go back to what I had said about was walking into and running a business with my husband. To me, that's a legacy builder, because you're working together as a single unit in your family, working together with our children in business to assist them in building something is a legacy builder. We have our cabin as a we have 7 children, so it's an eighth like person in our trust. This is another way to identify legacy. We want the memories, we want the cabin, we want that curated space to be around long after we're dead, and for children not to make the decision that they just want to sell it. But we want it to be a legacy piece that they can come to feel our spirit, our warmth that used to be there, the memories that they had there, and we want that to live on. So when we're thinking about legacy, what's bigger than you? What lives on past the impact that you made in that industry or in that space? And it really, when I started with the voting, that seems to be the easiest for most people to understand. But it really comes back to, what do I value the most? And I value the family unit. Everybody knows that. I value that first. So we need to identify for us, what are our values? That's an important piece.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, with my practice, like, how can it continue beyond me and continue to serve and help other people's lives beyond me, but in my living trust, right? It's not, see what you can sell it for. It's who's going to continue to make sure that there's providers and practitioners that are working inside of it and continuing to, right? Like, who's going to kind of manage that and benefit from that. But a little bit different of a setup, but kind of that same concept.
Yeah.
But it's also something that I can leave for them, that they can tangibly also, be benefiting. I don't care if it helps one great grandchild get through college. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or whatever the going thing is. I think, right now more people are leaning into trade school, but that's this generation. The next generation will be something else. So whatever it is, but my way to continue to,
Sure.
to have that impact. So I love that. And this might be a little bit of overkill, but I think it's an amazing thing to highlight, especially about you, because you have successfully launched over 340 businesses and impacted countless entrepreneurs. So, just even coming at just that small or big giant piece, what strategies have you found most effective in creating lasting influence, both personally and professionally?
Yeah. So the influence comes from the service always. So the more that I serve others, those 300 and so businesses were not my businesses that I've started. We've launched 6, so they weren't all mine. They were working with these mom and dads, these individuals that wanted to become entrepreneurs and own their own businesses. And it was me behind the scenes supporting their dreams, supporting their growth, supporting kind of their vision of what they see for their future. And now I think every single one of those businesses, of me being behind the scenes and being there to support that individual, helping them, empowering them by helping them identify their strengths and what they do really, really well, and then encircling themselves with others that possess other strengths that maybe they don't possess, and realizing what it's like to build a team, right? And support that team. They have a big role in that. And every single one of those facilities and businesses that I worked with brought in hundreds of children every semester. So every school year, hundreds of children from the age of 4 months to 12 years of age, thousands came through these businesses. So we add that up of the thousands of children that came through that were affected by that space, meaning they grew motor skill development. Each one of those children grew confidence. They learned how to do new skills, right? So we set a great foundation for these children for the rest of their life. So not only these, now we're talking a million kids when we add it all up through all of the spaces, if not more. Those children now grow up to make an impact on others because of that foundation that was set for them. That's what a legacy is about. It's not about me, me, me. Look at me, 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 and look at what I did, me, me, me. It's not about that. It's really about the service and support you provide others. This is also in the reflection worksheet. Where are you empowering others with the knowledge so that they can take that to then take on what you've taught them and create that legacy through now duplicating that with others? And I think that's the important piece we need to remember. It's not about me. It's about how many people am I empowering and changing their lives so they can go on and empower and change others' lives. The whole pay it forward.
Oh, so perfect. And such a perfect flow because you said empowering others. And my head was going there. I'm like, I want to ask this question. And so, again, guys, I keep telling you, Colleen and I go back a minute. So this, so my question may seem, again, overlapping. However, there are pieces to it. So if you really listen, the answer is worth hearing. So when we're talking about empowering others, and it being a big part of leaving a legacy, how can, say, we as leaders, as professionals, and as everyday beings, everyday individuals, right? How can we build meaningful connections that truly empower those around us?
Well, you hinted on it when you said build meaningful connections. And that's really the entire piece of it, is building meaningful connections, spreading kindness, being authentic in a relationship, really caring about someone, but then being the example to that caring. And here's the thing when we talk about even the basics of servant leadership, you have to earn the right to become a leader through respect. And when you're respected because of the work that you do, the service that you have for others, then you earn what I would call influence. You've influenced their lives through your servant leadership, through your service and leadership by doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. Through that, you earn the right to become what I would call a leader, someone that's respected and people want to follow. I want to be like you, or I want to do things like you, or I want to create like you. And you become that influence through that service and leadership. So that's how it starts. It's the meaningful relationships. And when people say, yeah, but everything's really superficial and, my one-on-ones, people just want to sell to me. I don't have those one-on-ones with anybody. I never get on a one-on-one or talk with someone and I feel sold to. I curate a space on Zoom where people want to just connect. So if it's me and you, Trisha, and we're on the phone for the first time, which we were at one point on Zoom for the very first time.
That's when we met.
We curated a space for you and I to get to know each other. And I was very curious and wanted to know all about you. I did not want to know all about you because I wanted you to hire me. In fact, you didn't for a long time.
I
I
didn't.
wanted to learn about you. And my immediate response in wanting to be curious, that's the first step to building meaningful relationships, was I wanted to know how I could help you. Is there knowledge I have that I could give you to empower you? Is there a person I know that I could connect you to that would be a good connection for you? Is there something you're doing that I could help you add fuel to it to promote it for you? What could I do to serve you? And that's my number one thing when I talk with someone or meet someone face to face is I want to get to know them because I'm curious. I don't want it to be about me. And I do these in workshops where I'll have in large workshops, I'll have them turn around and look at the other person behind them. And all they have to do for 2 minutes is ask the other person questions and then just keep asking questions based on what the person says. And then we turn it back the other way. And it's amazing how you don't feel nervous, how you don't feel like the spotlight's on you when it's all about the other person. So, really being curious and asking questions and building meaningful connections start at that tipping point.
Absolute. Amen. Right? Like this is the golden juice, guys. And not just in business. You know, always remember, be thinking about how can I add, edit, delete, change, shift, morph, and pick out the pieces that can serve me in all categories of living. And you know, Colleen, you've I know you to speak about purposeful decisions and making them. You shared some about that here today. You've talked with us about aligning our values with our daily decisions. You've highlighted how effective this can be by sharing, you know, your stories of success and, you know, legacy building yourself. But you know what I'm wondering is what, you know, overcoming challenges. Like we all have these challenges and blocks and barriers. So what are some of the most common challenges that you see or have you seen that people face when they're trying to create that lasting impact? And then back behind that, right? Like how do you suggest that people overcome?
I think the number one thing is people give up too early. They just fizzle out and they give up too early because they're trying to do this like push and pull method and they're trying to build it all on their own. And number one, you've got to get with tribes and community of people that support you, that want to fuel your success. I think of a round table, and maybe I should have had this on the reflections worksheet for sure. I don't think it is. So I want you to just think about this now. Who is sitting at your board table, right? Your executive board table. Who's sitting there? Who are the people that you rely on, that you go to and ask questions, and you rely on their answers of suggestions or advice? Who do you go to for advice? And if you're like no one, well, that's your first mistake. So not having someone that you can get advice from, basically it's maybe a group of a mastermind, right? So who can you ask questions of? Who will freely give you advice? Who's fueling your success? Who is giving you different perspectives to help you see a different angle on what you're doing? So tribe is very important. What you're part of, community, either you've curated it for yourself. We have to build our social capital. Our social capital is so crucial to us building socially who we hang out with because it becomes your identifier. It always will. So that is crucial. And so this whole like pushing, pulling all by yourself and trying to make it work, it's not going to get you a badge of honor. No one out there is delivering those to anyone that does that anymore. There's no I in team. We've said that. It's all about the team. So create the team around you that's going to help you get to that success without burning out. So people tell me all the time, Trisha, I hear this all the time. You're everywhere. Like you're doing everything. I don't know when you sleep. You've got 13 grandkids. You're running around doing all this stuff. I think the last time I saw you or talked to you, I had 11. Now we've got 13. And it's like, yeah, I want to be a grandma. That's important to me because building a legacy starts in your own home with your own children and grandchildren. I want to build a legacy. I want my grandchildren to have learned something from me that changes something in them, and then they take that throughout their lifetime. I want that for myself. I want to be in their lives. So that's important to me. But I have an amazing team members. I have in our other businesses, employees. I mean, I could go on with all the team members that we have in our other businesses. I don't need to be in everything. It's not about me. The business is run with our team members. So, who are you missing in your circle of people that need to be there that is working for you, working with you, you've hired to help you be able to get to that level of success? Who's sitting at that executive boardroom that's giving you that advice? And I mean, I think that really covers it all and why we fail.
Yeah. I mean, it, one, I like people, you brought up people give up too soon, and that just really, boom, that landed, that stuck. And it's a space that I have opened up that, and this about me, but it's always been kind of quiet behind the scenes. Like I'm, an instructor over here at this academy, and I really enjoy teaching, but that how I teach, train, mentor, nurture people that want to enter a private practice type industry in mental health, addiction, that space, I've now created a space where they can, freely come instead of me, going to seek them, because it's not about me. It's about what I know that I can give them. And so now I'm just making it, visible so that they know and they can just come.
Yeah.
And be welcomed. But what I see, and the reason why I said, okay, I'm just going to put it out there like this big giant billboard, is because I watch people give up too soon, too quick, and they, and just get frustrated. And it's not just entrepreneurs, though. It's not just, coaches or clinicians that would come to work with me. It's parents. And I'm just going to say this, and I hope anybody that's listening doesn't take this the wrong way. But, if you're a single parent, or you're going through a divorce, or, maybe you've recently been widowed, I feel your pain. I see you. Colleen sees you. She feels your pain. But here's what I want to say is don't get so resolute in your thought processes that, you don't have support, that you don't have a tribe, you don't have a round table of people. Maybe they're not as reticently obvious to you, right? Like I said, well, just here, let me put some billboards out so it makes, make myself a little more visible. You're not alone. You just might have to get creative at how you create this, fill the seats at your table, because you aren't the first, you're not the last, and you're certainly not the only person that's gone through a divorce, been a single parent, been widowed, whatever it is, right? Like, I'm just going to say that, and I don't mean to sound insensitive, because I've been those things. Well, I haven't been a widow, but I have lost, people really close to me that, like add my son's father, right? Like he passed on early, and so these things happen in life, and it's how am I going to fill those seats? Like Colleen was saying, you've got to have a tribe, but the tribe's not just going to show up, right? Like they're not going to fall out of the sky.
Oh, you got to
I remember
curate
telling
it.
my daughter this when she was in law school. She got done taking the bar, and she's just, sending her email resume out, waiting for responses. at a time when a gazillion people finish the bar. And I'm like, honey, they're not going to come knocking on your door. You need to start calling and
Yeah.
saying, hey, make that receptionist like you, make her want to pass that email on, whatever. You've got to create that tribe.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I didn't mean to, hijack you there, but I just want people to understand, like, who sometimes it's exhausting, getting in there. But if you give up and you're like, this is, and you get resolute that this is as good as life is ever going to get, and I'm never going to have what I want, and it's never going to feel as full as I want, then, you're setting yourself up for that.
It's true.
So, you know, um, actionable takeaways. So, and you've given us tons, but maybe we can just kind of go through some bullets for those that are just beginning to think about their legacy now that they're sitting here.
Yeah.
Like, what's that one actionable step that you would say, this is that very first step? And then after that, like
You
you,
have to define, let's go all the way back to starting with defining your core values, right? So you've got to define what those are, what drives your decisions. I think that's one piece. Another thing could be assessing your current impact. Well, in what ways are you creating an impact today in your community, in your industry, in your business, in your children's lives, if you have them, in your church, if you're part of a church? Where are you creating impact? I don't think we often identify that or even write that down, on a piece of paper. You don't know how to expand that if you can't take an assessment of where you currently are. So you got to start with assessing that. And then if you want to create that lasting legacy, what areas of your life or business could you enhance? How can you expand that? So knowing where you're currently making that impact, you might say, I'm not really making an impact in my community. And I'll just give you a quick story. One of the driving forces for me to quit corporate America had so much to do with moving into my community. It's a master plan community where I live today, and taking a leadership class here that took me 10 months to go through. And they had us identify our core values. They had us really get to know ourselves through this process. And the one thing I learned was that I came to this community to be part of a community, not drive out at dark 30 and drive back in at dark 30 and not be able to participate in anything going on in my community because I'm never here. If this community is about eat, work, play, live, then why am I not eat, work, playing, and living here? Why am I not doing that? I'm not even truly living here. I'm essentially living at work. I'm living on the road. I'm living on an airplane. I'm living in rental cars. I'm living in hotels. I spend more time away than I did here. So when I assessed my current situation, I couldn't think about expanding my influence because I was like, how do I expand it? I was like, I need to be more present in my community. That's missing. And that was a big piece. If everyone else can work here, I can work here and figure out how to run a business here. And so I decided when I landed on both feet, like I talked about in entrepreneurship, and just kind of threw my passion toward it, that's when I knew I could expand my services and my giving back into my community. And now, 6 years later, our board just turned over to resident owned board, and I was voted in to be on the board. And I thought to myself, I quietly served in the background. I always volunteered. I work in Eastmark. I work in my community here. And I couldn't believe, here's the thing about being humble. You'll never believe the large impact that you create and make on others just by serving. And they know your name and they know you, but they know you for the service, not because you've posted on Facebook 1,000 times and shouted it out from the mountaintops. Here's me, here's my business, buy my stuff. Here's me, here's my business, buy my stuff. That's not what you're doing. You're out there serving others. And when you do that, that's when people start talking about you. So you've got to understand, what are my values? Like, I got to know that first. And then start it by assessing, where am I at now? And where do I want to make an impact that I'm not? That really is where it starts.
wow. So beautiful. And I think, if everybody has been really listening, you've given us so many amazing, wonderful things to think about. And those core values are priceless, right? If without them, we go nowhere. And I love that you talk about how you want to be seen. How do you want to see yourself experiencing living is how I say it to my clients, right? It's how do you want to see yourself experiencing living? How do you want to be of service? Whatever that is, depending upon who I'm talking to. But it has to be, how do you want to see you? Not how you think everybody else out there wants to see you on social, whatever, TikTok land. Um, how do you want to see yourself experiencing living? How do you want to experience your environments? And how do you want those environments to receive you?
Love it.
Right. But if you don't have any environments, and don't get me wrong, guys, I'm guilty of it because between client sessions, I have very little time to pop out and go engage in the things in my community. And I love that you brought that up because it has been, it's on my 2025 plan is to re-engage in the things that I let go when the pandemic hit that I just haven't restarted. Right. And that is living in my community, serving the people right here where I live, because even though I'm international and have been since before the pandemic, I've been virtual before it was, the thing to do. And it just, put me in mainstream. But now the pandemic's over, right? Like it's time to readjust. And, sometimes we have to recalibrate that calendar, the structures, whatever it is, so that we're leaning into making sure that our core values are being paid attention to, and we're being of service to more than just our business. And I think this is where people are giving up, because it's not enough anymore to just be of service in your business. People want to see more. I see it. If I go on a hike with my husband, I get whatever, 50 likes, blah, blah, blah. If I share about a webinar or a summit, right? Like it's like a little less. But if I'm just posting, might be crickets, just depends, right? Like, read it, but and so you see what people want. They want to actually engage with you, the person, you, the being. And you can't do that hiding behind a computer screen other than, online networking. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for giving us all these juices. If you have any parting wishes, right? Like, guys, she's talked about her reflection worksheet over and over again. And again, if you're already here at the end and you haven't like touched it, felt it, whatever, that's fine. But I hope you had, and you can come hit replay, whatever. And so if you had any final parting wonderful wisdom juices that you wanted to share, not that you haven't given us a gazillion already.
I think it's up to us to make the decision and decide that we want to build a legacy, that we want to empower others. I've heard so many people say that they help and they help and they help. And I really believe that shifting that mindset to, instead of helping people, like we could help someone who's homeless by giving them food and water. We're helping them. We can help them by giving them clothes. But that's so temporary. What if we empowered them through knowledge of somewhere that's hiring, or where they could go to take a shower, or where they could go on a regular basis to get food to nourish themselves, rather than you just dropping it once? That's the difference that we're talking about here. If we step up and decide we want to really empower others, then you have got to do the work to empower others, which means giving them resources, helping them, connecting them with what they need to feel empowered to be able to grow. And we should all be doing that. If we all did that in every industry, the world would look a lot different today than it does. But unfortunately, there's a lot of power and a lot of greed and a lot of individuals that want it to be about themselves and want to keep it close to the breast because they don't want anyone to know. And I'm not that way. I'm about sharing that knowledge and connecting people to resources because I want to empower them with that so that they can move forward. That's really, you can't build a legacy if you're not willing to empower.
Right. And that's
Can't.
part of building your own capital, whether that's recovery capital, whether that's emotional well-being capital, social capital, whatever it is, right?
That's
Like
right.
you got to have the resources. And if you have them, why not have them in a little business card sheet that you can hand out? I don't know, right? Like just thinking about it, like if you're going to give $1 to somebody, give them $1 with a list of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we're using this as an example, but I myself, right? Like I always make sure, like if I'm going to clean my closet, right? I want it to go somewhere that's going to, actually give to somebody that needs, not just, someplace random. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you again, Colleen. And you guys, I can't stress enough and I'm sure that by now, you already have, but if you haven't booked your feedback call, Colleen and I, right, like we've just shared how important it is for us to be, right,
Yeah.
useful, to give, to be humble. Well, we want to receive your feedback. We want to know, like, this is a different kind of summit. They aren't just out there. Usually you go, it's a full day event or 2 half days, and you're writing feverishly and you don't have time to digest. And so this is a different kind of a space that, we've come together to create, to see if it helps you actually move the needle in your life this final quarter of the year so that you're better equipped for that new year and you're not just waiting for January to come around. Anyway, but so book that feedback call so that we can get that feedback.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, it's where you get your free gift. And Colleen's got a great one for you. And I'd love to give it to you.
Do you want me to tell them what it is?
You can.
So it's just going to kind of help you with the first steps to attracting people towards you, right? Finding those people to put on your board table and your executive table we talked about. So it's 5 steps to becoming an instant authority in your industry. And since I've been able to, like I said, land on my 2 feet in entrepreneurship and really build a great successful business and successful online communities and now successful conferences, I think I can empower you with knowledge and what you need to do to get started. So that's what this is, empowering you with knowledge on how you can take those steps for yourself.
I guarantee you want to get a piece of that. So, everybody's got to, just give us that feedback and we're happy to give you all of those gifts. And I promise you, it's not a sales. There's nothing to buy. I'm not even going to talk to you about that. It's just literally an exchange so that I can feel the energy, pick up on the love, answer any questions you might have. And also, right, guys, this is also about me supporting my friends who've come here to support my idea, my vision. And so if there's, sometimes we feel a little more comfortable if somebody says, like to me, hey, tell me more about Colleen. Do you think she could really help me? I'm going to say, tell me more about what you think. And then I'm going to be able to validate or make another suggestion. But right, if I know for a fact you're not a good fit, I'm going to, Colleen would appreciate that if
Yeah.
if I, because we have busy schedules, we also don't want, people that aren't a good fit for us just to tell them no. But you know what? It's one of the things I'm highly gifted at, and that is making connections with the right people that can actually take you to where you want to go. So anyway, all of that to say, thank you for being here for this amazing wrap up legacy session. I do want to say that there is one more. We have a bonus, right? We have a bonus that's going to be right before the wrap up message from me. Anyway, we do have one bonus message from another dear friend, and I look forward to chatting with you. Thank you so much, Colleen. Have a great
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.